We got this from the Washington Examiner. This may shock you all, but Maxine Waters, a Democrat rep, says Trump is leading the U.S. to civil war. I can't believe she would say something like that for the fifth time. In fact, this is really funny. She did just say it. This report is from August 12th. And when you Google search it, she said it so many times that there's tons of articles. So don't get mad at me. Maxine Waters is a Democrat rep, and she's saying it. So Maxine Waters said Trump is risking a civil war by not allowing Congress members to visit ICE detention centers. She visited the Metropolitan Detention Center and DHS field office in L.A. Waters, Gomez, and Chu were previously denied entry. We get it. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. For real? We're going to keep doing this? Here's Trump is working towards a civil war. Democrats are screaming, especially with the takeover in D.C., that Trump is taking over cities with authoritarian force. They're arguing that we are going to find ourselves in, as Maxine Waters says, some kind of civil war. And she's not the only one who said it. Obviously, I don't think I disagree. But, you know, I would disagree on that Trump is doing it. The point, I guess, is that with what we're seeing now, Beto O'Rourke recently came out and said, screw the rules.
Yes.
They're kicking us in the balls and punching us in the face. So we got to do whatever we have to do to win. And, you know, we'll get into the bigger part of that story next. But they are acting like Trump has started this conflict, despite the fact this all started when Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration accused Donald Trump of being a traitor to his country and working with the Russians to undermine the will of the American people, launched an investigation against him. Ultimately, it led to 2 impeachments, the arrest of his lawyers, the arrest of him, the raid on his home with lethal force authorized. And Trump now says, okay, let's get to the bottom of what happened. And they say, oh, look what he's doing. Look what he started.
Well, that's, again, the means by which they project things against you. You know, when they say everybody else is a fascist, and then what is Antifa? Antifa is going around beating up people because they're saying things that they don't like to be said. So they're the real fascists. And Maxine Waters, you know, my hair was all black until the first time I saw her, and it started to go gray up there on Capitol Hill. But, you know, she's the same person that also said Trump's going to start a nuclear war with North Korea. Yeah. It is always, you know, anytime Republicans or Donald Trump comes up with something, now the big, beautiful bill is going to kill hundreds of people, millions of people. The only thing that has killed hundreds of millions of people in this world is socialism, progressivism, communism, Marxism. You know, we can go back and look at that. And furthermore, the only political party that started a civil war in the United States of America was the Democrat Party. Maybe she needs to do a little history study. So if we come back and look at who they are and what they stand for, they're trying to push us to this brink, because everything about them is about totalitarianism, it's about power, it's about control, and they'll be damned if anyone can stand in their way. Donald Trump is their number one nemesis.
No, I want to push back a little bit.
Okay.
I know it's contentious to argue who started the Civil War, but I think there is an interesting parallel to today with what Democrats did. And the Democrats in 1861, before Lincoln got into power, I think it was 7 states seceded from the Union, basically said, you will not stop us from doing bad things. And Abraham Lincoln said, I'm not going to let you do this, and went to the South. It's I know you're going to get a historical debate over who started it, but it was Fort Sumter.
Yeah.
Union refused to leave. The South was saying it's our it's our land. You got to get out. The Union said it's our base. We built it. But Abraham Lincoln decided to send in the troops and shut down what he was calling the Southern Rebellion and keep the Union together. Mm-hmm. He did a lot of things that people would deem to be tyrannical.
You mean like maybe how today they're trying to say that what Donald Trump is doing is tyrannical?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They say that they have the authority to do whatever they want. No one can stop them. And Abraham Lincoln is heralded for suspending habeas corpus from Pennsylvania to D.C. to create a security corridor for the Union, to stop them from trying to secede. And what was the purpose of seceding? Because they wanted to maintain slavery, largely. And they enshrined it in the Southern Constitution. Donald Trump today is saying, I will not let you destroy this Union through open border policies, through selling out our workforce, through destroying our younger generations. And he's going to use his authorities under the Constitution to do so. So I would argue that
there's a parallel.
Indeed, that's my point.
Yeah, there's a parallel.
The Democrats want to do things that are largely rejected by the majority. Slavery was losing out. Abraham Lincoln said slavery will no longer expand in this nation. And so they said, then we're going to leave, and we're going to do what we want to do. And he's like, no, you're not breaking the union. There are a lot of people that would argue, and do argue, the South had the right to secede. But I agree with Ulysses S. Grant, who said that we as a union sacrificed blood and treasure to admit you. And that's especially true of Texas. And then they decided abruptly that they were going to leave and not return that debt. Abraham Lincoln said, you're not going to do that. This union will stand. Donald Trump is, there's the parallel, where Democrats are saying, we want open borders. We want to extract the value, send the money to China, do whatever we want. And Trump is saying, no, we will protect this union however we have to. And now they're screaming that because he's doing it, he's a fascist.
Yeah.
Exactly like the Democrats.
And that is that parallel, because today's Democrats, progressives, socialists, whatever, they are trying to implement a philosophy of governance that is antithetical to who we are as a constitutional republic, to our rule of law. They are basically saying we don't care about the rule of law. It's about just one word, our rule. And so what Donald Trump is doing is standing up to that. And as we were discussing, we need more Republicans to stand up and do this. We need more Republicans to find their big boy and big girl pants, in the House and the Senate, or even like you see in the state of Texas, because for too often and for too long, there have been no consequences. There have been no ramifications for all of these things that Democrats, leftists, Marxists, socialists, progressives have been doing.
I'd love to just rag on the Libertarians for a minute. TheReason.com Libertarians, because, Dave Smith I like, right?
I mean, there's a lot of ragging that the Libertarians have earned regardless.
They've earned. I imagine them like political cucks, where they sit back while the Democrats run roughshod over libertarian principles and take their guns and destroy their lives and suspend their rights. And then when Trump is like, we got to put a stop to this, they go, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's going too far, man. And I'm like, ugh.
Libertarians, they love to say things like, I'm principled, et cetera. But if you're principled and your political opponents are not, they will use whatever means necessary to attain political power, and then they're going to use that political power against you. And the Libertarians are perfectly fine with losing their rights, having their property rights violated, just so long as they can get on the internet and say, well, I was politically principled and I didn't, violate my libertarian principles. It doesn't matter if your opponents are going to take all your rights away.
If you're so principled to the point where you end up voting with Democrats, I think you should review what your actual impact on power is.
Remember we had the Libertarian guy on, and I said, Democrats arrested Donald Trump's lawyers, which is unconstitutional. What should Trump do in response? And the response was nothing. And I'm like, so we just let Democrats continually violate the Constitution, do whatever they want? Yes, because responding would be an escalation. That'd be bad for us. And I'm like, so we can live under the boot of communists? I don't that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. When and this is Battlefield 101, when you allow the enemy to know what you're not willing to do, guess what that is? That's a gap.
Surrender.
That's a surrender, and you will be exploited. And so what we have, and I know we'll get to this in Texas, but 2011, Democrats ran away from Texas, went to Oklahoma. 4 years ago, 2021, Democrats ran away from Texas, came up here to Washington, D.C. So what do you think they're going to do again? And there's never been any hard consequences for them. We're finally trying to get there, but now it's going to be debated. It's got to go before the Texas Supreme Court. Like you just said when we were off camera, it's crush 'em time. And if we don't have that type of mentality, you're going to continue to see them, march toward what they are seeking to have, and that's totalitarian control. And you brought up a great point. I was looking at a previous segment where someone had said that, they want to see Mom Donnie win. I think it was George Will. George Will. And you were talking about that. And see, the point is that we never counter them. We never go to the mat against them. You look at this guy up in Minneapolis running for mayor there. You look at Brandon Johnson in your home city of Chicago. We don't go to the mat against these people and really put them on their heels. And if we don't, then the slippery slope, this is what we're on.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.